Welcome! Today, we are diving deep into those critical, heart-pounding moments of a respiratory emergency. We're going to deconstruct the medical playbook for when someone with asthma or COPD is literally fighting for every single breath. Let's get right into it.
Just think about that for a second. It's a truly terrifying thought. For most of us, breathing is just automatic. We don't even think about it. But when an attack hits, it becomes this conscious, desperate struggle. So what's the plan? How do medical professionals step in and turn the tide in that fight for life?
All right, so to really understand the solution, we have to start with the problem itself. What is actually going wrong inside the body, deep inside the lungs, during one of these attacks?
Well, the clinical umbrella term for this is reactive airway disease. But what does that really mean? At its core, the problem is one thing: inflammation. You can think of your airways as these big open highways for air. But during an attack, those highways get swollen, they get narrow, and it becomes incredibly difficult for air to get through. It's basically a massive traffic jam happening inside your lungs.
So, every single thing a medical team does is designed to hit one of these three goals. You can think of it as a strategic, three-pronged attack. First, calm down the inflammation. Second, get more oxygen into the blood. And third, help the lungs with the actual physical work of breathing. That's the whole game plan, right there.
Okay, so how does this whole process even kick off? When that emergency call comes in, those first few moments are all about assessment. Before they jump in with treatments, the team has got to get a crystal clear picture of just how bad the situation really is. The very first steps are immediate and they're non-invasive. They get them on continuous monitors right away. Pulse oximetry, that checks the oxygen levels in the blood. And capnography measures the carbon dioxide they're breathing out, which is a fantastic indicator of how well they're actually ventilating. Positioning is also crucial. You'll see a patient instinctively lean forward into what's called a tripod position. Their body is smart. It's trying to use gravity to give the lungs more room to expand.
Now, of course, not every single attack is a 5-alarm fire. The medical response is always tailored to the severity. So let's start with what you see most often: a mild to moderate exacerbation.
So how do you tell the difference? Well, in this stage, the patient can usually still talk to you. You'll hear that classic wheezing sound. But here's a key sign they look for: a prolonged expiratory phase. All that means is that they're struggling way more to push air out than to pull it in. And that's a dead giveaway that the airways are blocked up.
And this is where we see those first treatment goals really spring into action. They'll give oxygen to boost their supply. They'll use aerosols, like albuterol from a nebulizer, which act fast to open up the airways. And then they bring in steroids to attack the root of the problem, that inflammation.
But what happens when that first line of defense just isn't cutting it? When the patient's condition starts to slide downhill, the whole situation becomes critical, and the playbook has to escalate fast.
The difference in symptoms is just stark. But, the most dangerous sign of all? It's that silent chest. And let me tell you, that is one of the most ominous things you can encounter in emergency medicine. It doesn't mean they're getting better. No way. It means so little air is moving that their lungs can't even produce a wheeze anymore. That, combined with bluish skin, cyanosis, is a giant red flag that respiratory failure is right around the corner.
Now, it's really important to remember, they don't just abandon the basics. All those foundational treatments, the oxygen, the aerosols, the steroids, they keep going. But for a severe attack, it's time to bring in the heavy artillery.
So this is the toolkit for when things get really serious. They might use magnesium sulfate, which helps to relax those tight airway muscles. Fluids are absolutely critical, because the work of breathing is exhausting and it dehydrates you. Then there's CPAP, that's continuous positive airway pressure, which uses a mask to literally push pressurized air into the lungs to hold the airways open. And finally, you've got epinephrine, which is a powerful last resort option when the patient is right on the verge of collapse.
Of course, these really powerful interventions, they come with serious risks. You can't use CPAP on a patient who's vomiting, for example. And epinephrine puts a huge strain on the heart, so you have to be incredibly careful using it on anyone with a history of heart disease. It's a real high-stakes balancing act.
Whew, okay, that was a lot. So let's just pull back for a second and quickly recap the core tools in this treatment toolkit and what each one is specifically for.
I kind of like thinking about it this way. The aerosols are what kick open the door. The steroids are what put out the fire of inflammation raging behind it. Magnesium tells the muscles guarding that door to just relax. And CPAP? CPAP is the tool that props the door wide open, taking all that strain off the patient. See? Each tool has a very specific job to do.
And before we finish up, there is one last absolutely critical point.
If a patient shows up with all these symptoms but has no history of asthma or COPD, the whole protocol can change. You have to consider that it might be anaphylaxis, a massive allergic reaction which needs a totally different and even more urgent response. It's a vital distinction to make.
At the end of the day, this whole protocol is designed to win a desperate race against time, to turn that conscious fight for air back into an unconscious, life-giving rhythm. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What other amazing, life-saving protocols are happening all around us every day? Let us know what you think we should break down next. Thanks for joining me.